Who's up above in the nest, bunch of stuff, been putting out a handful of projects, finally getting across the finish line, or even potentially the last time we were in here is up as well. And catch that or catch up on old episodes, interviews, and whatnot. Sam Robb, who is also up above, guy over at Raconteur Press, is releasing a book, or has released a book, as it turns out. Oh, there's Jaji. And interviewed him pretty recently. So did a nice interview, talk Pittsburgh in there. Have a listen. Also volume 3 of Exploring Our National Parks is now out. It's up on Gumroad. I am submitting it for other streaming platforms. It's already submitted, just kind of waiting on QC to catch up and do their round of nitpicking so that I can make the changes required to get it approved for there, and hopefully get up onto some other notable platforms where people are. So yeah, that's everything for the meantime. But how about you guys? What projects or updates do you have? I have 1 month basically to get For the Love of God done, so that's what my focus is right now.
Hi guys, how you guys doing? Oh, that sounds cool, Michael. I'm glad to hear it. I hope it goes well. I am very happy to be back to writing. I've managed to get a couple of I think 3 or 4 of the short stories read for the anthology. And I read Chris Nuttall had sent me his latest for the Fantastic Schools, and it was pretty good. It was clever. It was he was revisiting his main setting in an interesting way that I found quite interesting. So that's about where I am. Happy to be back to work. I got to go to Jamestown, Williamsburg on the weekend with a friend. It was World Bee Day, and she has a book on the history of honey in Virginia, state of Virginia. Her name is also Virginia by chance. And so she was signing books there. So I was joking with her that if we did another anthology, we should call it Go Tell the Bees or something like that. We could do a bee story anthology. I could go sign books with her next time. Something to keep in mind for the future. Anyway.
At some point.
It's lovely. I really like it there. And the Jamestown thing is quite wonderful. They have a little tiny old-fashioned settlement. They have reproductions of the ships. They have a little tiny Indian village. I forget. I'm sorry that I cannot remember the name of the tribe. I like to say the particular tribes, but it's not one I was that familiar with. But they were really neat. That little village was really neat. Like the whole way they had it put together showed a lot of care and thought. And because bee is the state pollinator of Virginia, they have a permanent bee gift shop. So, everything was right there.
Not the top pollinator.
I have no idea.
Where are they like, no, can't.
Butterfly, maybe? I don't know. I don't
know. I love the states giving the nod to the humble butterfly.
Yeah. Well, they have a
whole pollinator, but
the
bee, come on, the bee.
It's the main one.
Work
they
a
have
day
a whole gift store.
Fashion of the bee, the humble bee out there doing the work.
Did you know that they didn't have honeybees in America? They were brought to Jamestown
I did know
by
that.
the settlers.
Yeah.
And so they have a whole store of just bee and honey stuff, and then they have a whole wall in their main gift shop too of other bee and honey stuff. The result was there were all these tables out, and you could go and they had honey and honey products and honey mead and all these things, and nobody was selling at the table. They were selling in the gift shop, so you could go without feeling pressured. I thought it was a very pleasant experience. But anyway, it was a book writing experience too for her lovely book. And
East Coast are really cool.
They are.
Yeah, it's nice to visit all that stuff and see it and do some of the reenactment things, or just the way they preserve history and kind of keep it interactive and things like that. But yeah, Williamstown, and also it's I feel like it's great inspiration for whatever creativity, honestly.
Exactly. Anytime you visit something that's a little bit historical, particularly as a fantasy writer, but even any writer, there's a lot to learn that you can walk away with. I often feel like we're really lucky as writers that when we go someplace, we have this additional thing we can do of appreciating it to go back into our writing.
I am. I'm here. How's that? Sorry, we had a very exciting moment. I nearly just got bit by a black widow in the bathroom, so I'm very happy.
Oh my gosh. I'm glad you're okay.
Well, I nearly stepped right on him. He or her, I guess. Seriously. No, I didn't see him. He was sitting on this rug that I have by the sink that's like this dark blue, and I my eyes are not spectacular, but fortunately I clocked her and screamed quite dramatically, as one does when they're fighting in the bathroom. Anyway, but yeah, no, so I've been back. Kind of
good to
getting
have you back.
started. I've got that. I see your emails, Jaji. I just saw them about
No problem.
Upload, and I don't know why. I'll go look at it, but
it didn't give me the option to do anything when I got there. I checked with something I did have access to, and
my fault.
Yeah, I'm sure you can figure it out. But I just emailed them to you, figuring worst comes to worst, you can put them up there.
Yeah, I mean, I will. I'm trying to figure out how do I do that.
I would. I mean, there must be a way to make, like, when I go into a docs I have access to. If I go and click on the little, I forget what it is up in the left corner, it lets me open a file or something. And I didn't figure out exactly how to upload, but it lets you do something.
Well, it should you should just be able to click.
When I did that on yours, it was all grayed out. Everything was grayed out.
Well, that's because I've done something wrong. Oh,
anyway, there must be a place where you can give me.
I just fixed it. I didn't.
Oh, good. Okay, then don't worry about it. I will try to again, and I'll try and get them up there.
Yeah, I can put so I have Bad Town up there, and you have Bad Town up there. Anyway, but yeah, no, I've been working on the anthology. I got the Excel doc is up there, so you can see everything. So we can, you can just click on that doc and update it right there on the Google Drive.
Yeah. And then I will, from now on, I will look to see before I read anything if you have a version up. I didn't see your Bad Town when I read mine, but I'll check each time.
I did the most. I posted most of it yesterday.
Okay. Yeah, I did it. I think I did it the day before.
So that's probably why you missed it. So I've got about 5 of them up there, and I'm trying to, work on that. So the Excel docs up.
I'll start with the ones you have up there, your version.
Yeah, if you check it out, make sure that that you can access. I just changed. I see what I did wrong. Under manage access, I didn't make everybody an editor. So now anyone with a link is an editor. So
that's it. That's exactly what we need. Excellent. Perfect.
Sorry about that.
Well, for those of you listening, where this is the process of working with somebody to do an anthology, so it's right on
To be honest with
topic.
you, I was captivated.
Well,
No, it's good. You got to work this stuff out. And
I
sometimes,
gotta make sure it works. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
got to take the time.
I know. So I've got that. I'm about ready to. I've got a book I need to send off to an editor who may be named Jaji. So I'll probably get that.
Anytime.
That's one thing I'm working on. So it's about there. And yeah, I mean, I've just had some personal stuff that we keep getting hammered with, oddly enough. But so there's that. So I mean, I'm getting back into it. I was gone for a while, so it was hard to get anything done in regards to any of this stuff. But the stuff that I've read for the anthology, we're all putting together the base book anthology. I think we've got it's interesting to me because of I've been through some of them. Some of them I'm like, I mean, the ones that I posted are obviously yours is up there, Jaji. I read yours first, but I liked it. I loved it. It was great, and I won't go into it too much, but some of the concepts in there are really clever, and I'll encourage people to. I like the Prospero characters a lot, so
it was surprisingly hard to do because there's actually like 4 separate, different, unrelated things I had to research for that relatively simple story.
Well, it's got that's the only thing I would say about it. I mean, I would just say if you were going to look at it again, I mean, notes in there. The only thing I would say is there's a lot going on, and you just want to go through and make sure you're really clear about all of it. Now, I've read the Prospero stuff before, so I had some understanding of what you were doing. It made sense to me, because of reading Prospero.
Yeah, it's always hard for me to tell how much I have to say about the setup when I write these stories.
It's hard, and I mean, I think there's enough. It's just you may want to just go through and make sure you feel that it's clear enough for everybody who's just.
I definitely will, because I kind of rushed it to get it off to you guys. So I be happy to go over it another time and.
Or after that revision round?
It would be really nice, because what I really need is someone who doesn't know the background to read it and just say, this is confusing, and any spot that doesn't make sense. Because as I say, I've written a bunch of these stories, and how much to explain the background is always an issue. I try to make it as little as possible so that I don't have to put a whole novel's worth of backstory, but I want to have enough background that the reader can follow what's going on. Exactly. So if you want to take a look at it, Michael, before I go over it again, and just, let me know if anything's unclear.
Michael's enjoying the soundboard this morning.
Sound effects today, yeah. Yeah, I'm fine with reading that. I will take a look at it, and I figure it won't take too long.
Excellent, thanks.
You can look at my version in the Google Drive.
And you can read her version, and then that way you know what she's already commented on.
Yeah,
that would be great. That'd be wonderful.
I mean, where do you guys have it? Is it in a document, or is it in like a Google Drive, or do you guys?
It's a Word doc in a Google Drive.
Okay.
It's on the Google Drive she put up on the Discord.
Okay.
She left the link there.
Oh.
Gotcha.
So that'd be cool. And as I say, I'm happy to go over it again, but it'd be really great to have, just somebody, because sometimes things, sometimes just having somebody will ask one simple question and I'll be like, oh, I forgot to explain that part of it.
Yeah. And I mean, but overall, I mean, it's like you have a real energy to your writing. You have a very energetic writing style is how I would describe it. And it's nice. I like it because it keeps moving. And I mean, there's a lot of action in the story. And I mean, it keeps going. And I like that a lot. So, I mean,
well, thank you.
So, I mean, it's good stuff. So, and I don't know how much you guys want to talk about this, but yeah, I got to sit down and do an audiobook for the house that Jack built. I'm finally kind of at a place where I can do that. I'm still, it's just always so quote unquote work-life balance, which is a joy
Yeah.
every moment.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a good project, though.
Yeah, and I'm gonna start another book. It's been
Good.
staring at me. It's in this world, in my songless world. It's gonna be like a side novel, like the house that Jack built, on a couple of the characters that sort of pop up in the fort, which is dumb. Well, done, relatively speaking. What would you call it? It's got a
So
solid plot.
just to kind of follow your whole path, you have an ongoing series, but this is a book that's to the side, the same way the House of Jack built is to the side. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Got it. Cool.
exactly. So there's the main thrust of the I'm gonna say trilogy right now, but then there's the sort of the side stuff, right? Like what
Yeah,
we're here,
kind
like
of supporting story.
supporting material and just
What
general
is the? Do you
story.
have a title for the third of your probably a trilogy?
Yeah, it's gonna be the Valley. So I have
That kind of
desert.
makes sense.
Makes sense, right? The desert, the fort, the valley. Very, very creative titles.
So it's Songless the Desert, Songless the Fort, Songless the Valley. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking
Cool.
at right now.
Yeah. Oh, I like that because, of course, to anybody who's read the book, calling it the Valley immediately makes the person realize there's going to be some interesting challenges. Yeah, exactly. We're gonna go back to something that needs going back to there. That's really interesting.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, such is the nature of life.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's great.
So, well, and you'll understand why when you read the fort.
Yeah,
Why they
I'm
got
sure.
to go back. Why they got to go there.
Yeah,
So
I'm sure.
it'll make tremendous. Got to get through the fort section first. So
yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Wow. Wow.
Everything that I put out, and it occurred to me it would take me like 2 years to double my catalog now, which is to say that like that's not even really a tangible way of thinking about catalog or production or anything. So it was kind of like, all right, I know that once a month is too fast of a pace to be doing anything. And I know that twice a year with like a short story and then a nonfiction paperback in the fall is probably not quite enough, you know, material to put out there. So, thinking if I could get something out every 2 or 3 months, that would give me 4 to 6 releases a year. That's pretty good.
That is good. That's great. That's great.
as as a way of like spacing out time over the course of a year or a couple of years, how how we produce things, like particularly like with what Heidi was talking about, like she's starting to think about a new book because it's the wrap up of the trilogy that she's been working on, but also because she's closing out this middle book and is getting into the like final editing phase, and will begin to think about audiobook in the future at some point for that too. But like, you start to think like, okay, well, if I'm going to put out this book, if it's out by the end of this year, or if it's out early next year, how long is it going to take to write and edit and release the next book? Another 2 years, probably. That seems to be about the pace for those novels. I know other people, they have different paces, or they fall into different sequences of things. For me, I think, gosh, what, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, the idea was I want to put out short story fiction in the spring, and I want to put out paperback nonfiction in the fall. And that's been kind of like what I was targeting to do for the last handful of years. Obviously, I went on that streak of audiobooks and, reasonably repackaging and shuffling of things in the midst of that. But like, the goal has been one thing for a while. And, now I'm kind of looking at, different goals too, with stuff, and like my capacity to write, and like what I want to focus the time on. And like film, the experiments that I've done over the last couple of years, there's a few more experiments with that stuff I want to do in the near term, and see, kind of where that goes. I've been lucky kind of recently to get into a new CPP program, and it's afforded me monthly credits to work on stuff, because I mean, they're tightening that up. Let's be honest. The time of free and cheap compute and AI and generative tools and stuff is kind of coming to an end. If you're paying for it, it's one thing, but for me, it's like, okay, do I want to play with something or pay for an expense if it's not going to result in XYZ thing? Well, that's fine. I've got kind of a catalog now to where hopefully, like, for however much longer the cheap compute and CPP program stuff goes along with some of these platforms, and those relationships are able to keep developing, the way that they have over the last couple of years, in terms of like the platform makers and developers and artists and everything else being kind of sympathetic, then I'll keep working on that. But otherwise, I probably wouldn't do fiction shorts the way that I have been. I would probably do something else. And like, I've explored some technology necessary for that, and have kind of changed my tune on some of that stuff, because the AI tools have gotten so good over the last couple of years that, like when I did Anunnaki and put that out last year, it's been a while since I've done anything major with AI, besides this documentary, which is not, obviously, again, like, fictional, not much of it. And then, we'll kind of see. I don't know how much longer that train is gonna keep on the tracks, though. So I want to try to take advantage of it and make the things I can make on that side of my creativity while I can.
That's a really good point. I just read an article about how the price of copper, which copper wire is used in many of these things, is skyrocketing because of the need for it. And this period of easily available, we keep thinking, well, the AI is going to get better and better. True, but it may not get cheaper and cheaper. It may, in fact, like a lot of other things that were free for a few years on the internet and then started charging, this may be a golden age of being able to do it with very little financial input. So that's a really good point. And as you say, you can kind of take advantage of what's going on now, and then in the future, take advantage of what's available then. But it might be different things. I had one small writing related thing that was kind of cool. I finally got around to editing a chapter my son had sent me that I had put off because I was doing other things. And one of my favorite books is Roger Zelazny's Amber books, Nine Princes and Amber, and the rest of that series, because I love the type of series where someone is bluffing, where they, somebody thinks you're someone else and you're trying to get information out of them. That's exactly what my son's scene was to punk high school Japanese kids, or they're in Japan, one of them's not Japanese, walk into the office of somebody who they think may have killed some pop stars. And the guy mistakes them for members of the, let's just call it the mob, the magical crime family that exists in the background of the story, which is kind of like a Japanese light novel kind of story. It was a great scene. I was just so delighted because it was the kind of scene I love, really love, and my son wrote it. So it was really, these two kids are trying to convince the guy that they're from recovery and trying to get information out of him about what's going on in the background.
Time, right? You ought to be a decent writer.
Yeah. It's just fun to see. I mean, I've read his whole novel and I'm reading his second one, but that scene was just particularly up my alley. He's got a lot of good stuff in it. But that one was like particularly almost written for me type of scene. So it was fun. I'm reading his second book, and I just reached the part where I stopped the first time I was reading it because he hadn't written any more back then, a couple of years ago. So this will be my first time reading something new that he's done in a while. The scene I just described that I read over the weekend, I had read a long time ago, but he had rewritten it. But it's fun to see your son go on and do well at something. Whether or not he finds a market or what happens next is entirely different than whether he's doing something that's entertaining and pulls together and is fun. And so that was a moment of writerly parent joy.
Yeah, all that other stuff is the boring, hard, long work of authorship, right?
Well, it's out of your control. You might sell well, you might not sell well. That kind of thing is out of your control. But if you write an entertaining story that's charming and enjoyable, that to a degree is in your control. I say to a degree because you could write something one person might like, another person might not like. But if he's doing well with the part that's in his control, that's a wonderful blessing. And the part that's out of his control is out of his control. All one can do, as you say, is just work at it. Continue to not give up and try to do your best with it. Which reminds me, it's been fun to see the sale going on this week. I sold, last I checked, over 40 copies of Prospero Lost, which in the past has not gotten much attention in the last few years. So that was really great. I was just delighted.
Ripping. It's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no, this sale particularly, I think, has done very well. I think he's kind of closing in on maybe about 5,000 books total for this round. So, yeah, very, very solid.
Even my fantasy, which didn't get, it was not in any way being showcased. And I think he has the old link, which is not for Amazon rather than the Amazon link. Looks like, at least 10 or 15 people have picked it up, which is better than say it has got, with some of the others. So that was really nice too. Well, they're both fantasy, but my YA versus my Prosper books. So I was very pleased. I thought it was nice. And I'm glad if other people are also getting, books are doing well. And I've tried to share it in a number of places and, just make it available to people who are looking for books and things like that. It's just nice to have a time when we're all working together, it's not, the same as we all getting into the bookstores or in front of, a massive list of readers, but it's certainly a growing effort. And, it definitely seems, I think, to be worth it.
Once a week, every 3 months is not
an
unreasonable amount. We're
going to do a small niche romance sale at the end of June. So, everybody
I want to put the desert in that. You think?
Yeah, you should, because I was going to have two. I have my notes on it somewhere, and I haven't pulled them up. I'll start it next week. But I was going to have a category for genre romance, and a category for a story that has a love story in it, but isn't necessarily itself romance,
Yeah.
because
So
a
go
lot of
on.
fantasy or science fiction has some romance to it, but it's not a romance, but it should go also. I mean, the sale should cover anything that, yeah, so I think the desert is right up that alley.
Yeah, I think I might do it might do a little better in a smaller sale because I mean I don't get any traction really from the base book sale too much because I don't, it's all the guys with their sci-fi and it's not what I'm doing. I'm kind of way more in a mythic zone.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
so I
don't
think
I feel that a niche is a little bit better for me to kind of be able to get some attention.
I think so. And romance is like we can post a romance sale in places I can't post the other one.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in romance groups on Facebook that I can't put the Facebook sale there. It's not topical, but I could probably post something like this. I
Yeah,
don't know
and I
to
mean
what
it
degree it would help, but
and again,
so
I know because I'm in this waffly space where it's sort of like, well, there's,
yeah,
I mean, you've read it, you get it. So I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, exactly.
it's not straight up fantasy. And it's more mythic, and it's not a full on romance. The romance is intrinsic to it. So I mean, I'm interested in kind of going there. I think that might be a better scenario.
Yeah,
And
and that's why
I'm glad I'm glad that Prospero Lost is getting so much attention because it's a
I
really good
was
book.
too.
It's a really
It's
good
so
book.
much fun, and it just kind of got overshadowed by other things.
And I want to
Often you
ask
only
you.
have time to mention one book, and I mention the ongoing series, and I sometimes but this one is got a lot to it.
It does, and I really like it. And I want to ask you, do you here's the thing. I have an old Kindle, so I basically don't buy ebooks anymore because one, I can't, I guess, at this point. But my question is, do you have actual hard copies or paperbacks other that aren't by Tor? Because I can buy
Oh,
them
that's a
through
good
Tor,
question.
but that benefits you not in the least.
Yeah, yeah. I will have to. Well, here's a short and a long answer. I think the short answer is no, but the long answer is I probably can get them up on Amazon. And I started and I got distracted because I didn't have part of the cover or something. But
Yeah.
I'm sure that I could make a simple wrap cover. The one problem I have with covers is I can do the full length size and the front, and I'm just not good at putting the blurb and the spine on. So I usually have to get someone else to do it for me. And I don't really have anybody lined up for this, but I'll see what I can do.
Well, if you have an Illustrator file, I can help you.
Well, maybe I'll do what I can, and then I'll send it to you. Maybe you can help me with it.
Yeah, I can try. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I just I'll do what I can, and then I'll ask for help. But because I can do most of it, it's just like one or two things I don't know how to do, and when I do it, it looks dumb. So
well, I can't guarantee perfection, but which is why I would never charge anybody because I'm not really a graphic artist. I
that's
just
fine.
pretend. But
I will definitely try. But if I can, I should be able to get them up. In which case they'll be available to buy on Amazon. I want to do that anyway. I just it was slightly lower priority, but now that some people have bought it and you're asking about it, would be a great time to do it. And I probably could do it in an afternoon. So
well, yeah, and I have the hard copy, but I bought it through the Tor thing, through Tor.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So
And they have the old
I would rather
covers rather than Dan's
get it.
covers.
I mean, I would rather you get it. And after having, I haven't finished it yet. I know I got distracted by a bunch. Well, you guys know I was gone for a while. It was very distracting.
Not a problem.
Yeah, and there's still stuff going on, but anyway, I won't get into it. But people start dying. It's problematic, right? How dare they? But so what was I going to say? Yeah. So I mean. No, I immediately, after reading, I don't know, maybe the first 2, 3, 4, 5 chapters, I immediately understood why that cover Tor put on it was so terribly wrong for what it is. and I know you wrote that article about it, but I thought it was really interesting, the idea of how important a cover is to maintain the relationship between what's really happening in the story, because
Yeah, yeah,
that cover presents something very different.
yes,
It's not presenting noir fantasy
yeah.
fiction, which is moving. Like I said, you have a very energetic writing style, and it's
Well, if
not
you,
presenting that at all. It's stiff. That
yeah,
cover is stiff compared to what you are as a writer.
if you look
It's
at the
beautiful, but
old cover and the new cover, the one that's on the ebook, the new
yeah,
cover looks like the story, and
yeah,
the old cover looks like the time traveler's wife, which was super popular at the time.
yeah. Well,
And I
it's
think they just kind of got the wrong idea about it because I heard it was history of like, you know. And I think I've mentioned Jonathan Molnar, who's a indie writer, once wrote a review of the book. That's my favorite review because he said describe what he thought the series was like that made it so he didn't read it. And then he described what it was like when he read it, and it was something like Noir Detective meets 40 Warhammer 40K or something like that. I can't remember, but it was pretty dramatic, you know. And he was describing perfectly the difference between the cover and the actual book. He was describing the third book, not the first one, but you know, and it made me feel good because it made me believe my editor when he told me that the cover was interfering with the sales, you know.
yeah, I would agree. I mean, I get it. I get how that cover was picked, but I also get that it's totally just it's misleading. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a very beautiful piece of art, but it's
it
misleading
is
for what you're
right.
doing.
And book 2 is even worse because it's just like a girl singing. I mean, the scene on book 2 is that she's got this evil sword that can talk to her in her head that's just, you know, trying to use to keep the Lord of the Jinn from burning all the treasures that they've collected over the years, including things like a tent made by Paul when he was a tent maker before he, you know, met Jesus in his vision and stuff. So it's a really dramatic scene. And there's a girl with earphones on, which my character never wears, in a vague smoky background with a sword. There's like, you can't even tell it's a fantasy story, even though there's a sword in it. It's the weirdest choice for a cover. And I know it was the wrong cover because for years after that, I would go to conventions and people would come up to me and say, I loved your first book. When is book 2 coming out? Which meant that they didn't see it in the bookstore. They didn't connect it when they saw that cover with the series, the story they'd liked. So just one of those things, you know. One of the great things of being indie is that we do not have that problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to find it because this is the Rachel Griffin stuff.
Yeah,
So
the
here's your
book is
Prospero
called Prospero in Hell.
your cover, and then the other one with the woman who looks like she's in agony,
Yeah.
which is really anti that character.
Yes. Now the third book for the tour version has a beautiful cover because the publisher himself, Mr. Dougherty, stepped up at a meeting and said, "You guys are not covering these books correctly. We need another cover for it." And the third cover, which is a young woman on the back of a swan diving into hell, a giant black swan diving into hell, is really dramatic and fits the series really well.
I know.
But by that time, the second book had already, you know, when it doesn't do that well, then the bookstores don't reorder it. So by the time they put that out, it was kind of too late, you know?
Prospero Regain. Yeah, I'm just
Yes.
on Amazon and I'm looking at him. Prospero in Hell.
Yeah. So if you look at Prospero
that's
Regain,
your
the
cover.
original one with the girl and the swan, if they'd had covers like that from the beginning, I think it would have been a lot better.
Ah, she's got dark hair. Okay,
Well, there's a reason for that.
that's all right.
I mean, it didn't occur to me when I wrote a story where the character's hair actually changes during the story that would be confusing to someone when you put it on the
It's
cover.
all right. You're good. I'm trying to look at.
She at some point in the story, minor spoiler, she gets her old hair color back.
Oh, that's super awesome of her.
So
Oh my gosh. So here's Prospero in Hell, and this is the hardcover, and it's like, oh God, that doesn't even look like the.
yeah, isn't it awful?
Well, it's not
pretty
even a
awful.
good cover.
No,
I mean,
it's not a good
you know
cover.
what it looks like?
It's
It
not
looks like
dramatic. You can't tell what's going on. It doesn't fit the story.
yeah.
And there was nothing we could do. My editor and I complained. My agent thought it was okay and didn't really come down on my side on that, though he was good with other things. So, what could I do? But it's a little lesson there for all of us on writing, on the fact that, for all the trouble we have as indies getting audience, there's certain real advantages to being able to have some control over what goes on your book.
Yeah, I mean, for better or for worse, you have to.
Yeah.
You hope you're picking the right thing. You know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the things I was torn about when I was doing like the cover for the desert. I thought to myself, should I put like a man and a woman on the cover? Or should I put like Jack and Hawthorne on the cover? And then I thought, if I do that, it's going to code completely as a romance.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. Yeah.
So I did what I did. I don't know if that was the right decision, but I mean, I like my cover. I mean, it sort of.
I feel like your cover matches the mood of your book well.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of eerie, and I mean, your book is eerie and unusual in a way that it's hard to put into words because it's a little different, which is in many ways a good thing. It's nice to read something that's really got a new take on things, But I think your cover matches the mood of it nicely.
Well, thank you. So, I fall into these things. and then we fall into things, and then we act like we planned it all, right? I wanted since we're sort of winding, I wanted to say something. I was reading your articles on the Woods Perilous this morning.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to give you a quote. I loved them, by the way, and I know the play. I don't know.
Into the Wood.
Yeah, I know it. I've known it for a long time. It's oh God, I can see his face, but I can't. He's not necessarily.
Is it Sondheim?
Yeah, it's Stephen Sondheim.
Yeah, I mean, it's somebody who's a pretty well-known Stephen Sondheim, maybe pretty well-known playwright. I'm not sure.
Very well known. I mean, he wrote that song "Send in the Clowns," which is actually a really great song, and A Little Night Music is that play. But our musical, I thought that was an interesting take on it, and I know it. And you make a really good point, but I wanted to give you a quote. When I was reading it, I remember I want to give you a quote from Fulton Sheen. You know who Fulton Sheen is?
Yes, I do.
So now I was in a space because Will did that. He republished the Fulton Sheen's book, The Moral Universe. So so I was in spaces where they were talking about it. So there's this great quote that Fulton Sheen said that I think completely hits on what you are doing there. So I want to give it to you. It's they become scandalized by heaven when they cease to be scandalized by hell.
Could you say it again? For some reason, I lost part of it. They
become now. Obviously, he's talking about people and art and all the things you're talking about, where we're turning all the villains into good guys, right?
Right. Yeah.
Geppetto into the bad guy. So Fulton quote, which I think addresses exactly what you're talking about. They become scandalized by heaven when they cease to be scandalized by hell.
Oh, that is a good quote. I am thinking of doing an additional article, not really part of that. I like where that one ends, but I write other articles on the topic. I have to look that up and write about it. And I'll pass it. The reason I reposted them is a friend of mine wrote me and said he wanted to write a book on this topic. He wasn't even a writer, he just decided he wanted to write a book on this topic. And I asked him if he'd read the articles, and he said no. And when I went to share them, the links weren't proper. So I said, I'm just going to put them out all at once and put the links in line. I will pass that quote on to him. He's actually Catholic too, so that would probably be right up his line. That sounds like something he might really enjoy for what he's doing also.
Yeah,
so Not only will I look it up, but I will share it with this friend of mine who wants to write on the topic of, fairy tales and the modern world and what's gone wrong and heroism and things like that.
Well, if we're talking about one of the things we're working on, one of the things I've been trying to do is put together a collection of essays, and I'm sort of posting them on Substack, about sort of the philosophy behind writing and writing with a moral center and what that actually means. So
Hey,
that's
send me a link for that too. I'll share that with
well,
him too.
I'm
Just in
doing them
case.
in pieces, and again,
Well, if you have one you think would be appropriate to share with someone who wants to write on that subject in fairy tales, send me the link and I'll share it to him, whether it's now or later. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
the worst will happen is he won't read it.
I mean, I loved it because, as you can see from my work, there's very much a fairy tale element to it. It's woven in, because I, like you, have loved the fairy tales forever. So I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can see
yeah,
it in the desert. There's all sorts of
yeah.
bits.
You have a definite fairy tale like mood, in a very nice one, I think.
So I mean, I appreciate it, and I think you make such an excellent point about how, and that's one of the things I've been trying to do, is it's like witches are bad people. They're not redeemable. It's not like, oh, something bad happened, so now they're good people now. It's like,
Yeah.
no,
In
we're not.
my,
We need to stop doing that.
I don't talk about this much because it's still secret in my series, but in my magic school series, witches and the sorcerers that are my main character are two entirely different things, and witches are bad. And it will eventually come out that I base the magic that the good characters have on stuff from the Bible. I mean, obviously, I'm taking liberty with it, but the idea I had was that Adam had it says in the Bible at one point he had other children, so he had a number of children, and the different blessings God gave him, he gave to his children. So we're all descended from Seth, who got the blessing of be fruitful and multiply, and then some of these others got other blessings. And I did that because didn't want to say all magic is good. You know what I mean? Because I think the occult is not good. And I tried to emphasize, and it will come on more as the story goes on, that there are bad witches and bad magic. And even some of the magic the characters are learning at my magic school, they will eventually find out is not good magic. But since they, like your character, my character starts in the benighted world not knowing what's going on. So she,
Yeah, well, don't we all start in the benighted world not knowing?
yeah, I think we do. So, I never thought of that before, but Rachel's starting in a world that doesn't know anything about God, and your character starting where she starts in the desert. There's a little bit of similarity of genre, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, we're both see, this is interesting because we're both coming at it in search of a moral truth. And
Right, right.
a universal truth is a universal truth.
Exactly. And I guess what, in most fantasy stories, particularly, I don't know if there's at least 100 different magic school books out there, series. I keep track of them. And most people have heard of one or two, but there's lots. In most of them, the main character is an outsider who comes to the magical world and learns about the magical world as the reader does.
Yeah.
My character is not. She's a super insider. Her family is right in the thick of things, and she's not an orphan. She has this huge family that's rich and supportive. They're not always easy, because getting along with your parents when you're rushing into trouble is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
But what she's discovering is God, because she lives in a world where Christians and Muslims and Jews and angels and demons and Jesus and God are all unknown. So the thing that she wanders into is the Christian world that we live in. And one of the reasons I wrote the series was my husband and I were so impressed with my friend who made up the story originally, how he did this and what it was like to come upon it for the first time. That we're like, that's a neat idea, But you have the same thing. Your character, she's heard of God, but she thinks he's a bad guy, so,
Exactly. Well, she's been,
yeah. I mean, but I just think it's a really nice thing. It allows for the learning to be in the moral direction. As you find these things out, it becomes a dramatic part of the plot rather than preaching, if you understand what I mean.
Well, I'll tell you something I think about when I'm doing this series in terms of it is really you can look at the songless books. The trilogy I'm going to do is the allegory of the cave.
Oh,
So
yeah.
right, so the first book is where everyone is seeing the shadow world and they think the shadow world is real, and she comes out of that world
Yeah.
by the end. So book 2, the fort, is really having to deal with reality, having to deal with the real object, having to see things as they really are, and being able to maintain oneself in that scenario. Right? So, I mean, so then book 3 will be, I mean, obviously this is a loose
Right, very
interpretation,
loose,
but and so then book 3 is going to be them having to descend back into that shadow,
back in to
sort of
try to
explain
rescue
to
everybody
people
else.
who live in the shadows.
That
So
is
it's the
really cool.
allegory of the cave, right?
Yes. There's a book called Creator that was turned into a movie. And they did the debut of the movie. It had Peter O'Toole and the guy who I can't think of his name, the guy from MASH, Charles something or other.
Oh, David Ogden.
Charles Ogden. Yeah, David
Well,
Ogden.
I know that. I just
yeah. Anyway, I got to hand him flowers. Peter O'Toole didn't come, but he did come to the opening. And my husband who was at the time a student, or I guess he just graduated, but he can't happen to be there that weekend. We weren't even dating yet; we were just friends back then. He got to dance with Virginia Madsen, who was the starlet that was in the movie. Anyway, but the reason it was at our school was the book they were making it on was written by a graduate of the school, and I had read the book, and there's only one line I remember from the book. And that was I think the guy was a dream sequence, but it was Plato's cave, and there was a neon sign saying "World's Oldest Metaphor." That image it wasn't in the movie, but it was in the book. Has stayed with me all this time.
Oh my God.
Plato's cave was world's oldest metaphor with a big neon sign. Anyway. Yeah, anyway, I think that's a great thing you're doing. I love this idea, so I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, it's like I don't know if anyone else has this experience when they're writing. I'm curious, but it's like I don't necessarily think that I'm doing that, but then I discover later, hey, look what I'm doing.
Yes, I think a lot of us do.
And I think
I will, for instance, to give you an example, I can't explain it because it's too big a spoiler.
Sure.
But I had been writing my series for 11 years when I realized that the series is called The Unexpected Enlightenment, that unexpected enlightenment is related to the basic thing that's going on in the series in a way that term that I had not realized. And I was looking for a analogy for this, like a synonym for this certain thing. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been writing about this the whole time. And I hadn't even noticed that it was, I mean, I knew what it was about, but I was like, it was clearly some other force other than my human intellect had made this connection,
I agree.
I'm
glad it's not just me. I feel that this where the concept of the muse came from, where you suddenly realize that something is guiding this, and you're like,
right.
No, I seriously cannot completely claim my own.
That's why I call it the divine muse, because I feel like I'm looking to heaven for it. And I'm a big fan of near-death experiences and people who have visions about heaven. I've read descriptions of things like rooms where people in heaven or angels are preparing things for people on earth to write. So I like to imagine us writers as like a diver in a suit, and there's a whole ship of people supporting that diver. And those guys are putting the ideas together for us. And our job is to be a transparency and let those ideas come down on the page, That's the way I see writing.
I mean, I think, there's a lot about being open that, and it's like having an open personality. It's like, Jordan Peterson has that test. Have you ever taken his Big 5 personality test?
No, I haven't.
I think I did. It was like, I don't know where it is now, but I'm sure it's still available, but he had a website like a few years back, probably when he first like sort of blew up.
Yeah.
And you could take like for like $3 or something, you could take the Big Five personality test. So the thing that got me is it's like I took it and like the thing that struck me was like, I mean, I'm a conservative Christian at this point, right? But
Yeah.
my openness on that test was 98% out of 100. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I think that has something, and I mean, for good or for bad, that's not necessarily always a good thing. Let's be honest. That can get you in a lot of trouble, and
Yes.
it is.
But you're right. I mean, any quality, as Chesterton says, you can fall off a horse in either direction. So any quality can lead you into trouble, but it also can have a good side.
Mm-hmm. And I think that right. So, but I think that that openness to that sort of, allowing the story to move how it will move is huge. It's like not expecting it. Like I remember I was probably about halfway through the fort before I realized one of its most important themes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's what I'm writing about." And I think that's one of the most important things is to be able to trust not knowing, trust just exploring. And I think that that sort of quality of openness can be very positive. Now, has it put me on a precipice sometimes where I've nearly fallen into the abyss? And not just in writing, just
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I've fortunately I'm just enough of a coward to pull back when it gets me in trouble.
There's a lot of good I don't know how to phrase it. Video material, audio material. I think he records him just like talking into a camera, but David Lynch on creativity and stuff like that. Always highly recommend checking out his stuff to see how he plumbs the depths. But for today, as it is, we are approaching the hour. So if there are any final thoughts before we wrap it up for today.
Good talking, guys. I think we have probably something more structured next week, but it's always fun just to talk about creative ideas. It's part of what we do.
Yeah, and I think this went well.
Yeah.
You'll have to let us know how the podcasts do. That would be interesting. And so guys, let's stay in touch. Go tell me. Let me know if you can get on the Google
Yes,
Drive.
I will try that.
And upload stuff. I see you. Do you want me to upload the stuff you emailed me? Because
yes, if you would, because that way we won't both do it. If you do it, and then I'll go from there. From then on, I'll check either do yours or upload mine after that.
There's only one problem: is we'll now have two Bad Towns up there.
Just rename mine Bad Time. I totally forgot that I was going to put my name after it.
It's fine.
You put Bad Town Dodgy and do it that way.
I know you want to end, Michael, but yeah, the relic element in that story is the only thing I could see was the rifle.
Yes, I do think we need to ask him if he could add a relic, maybe something that belonged to the great grandfather or something.
It's in there, but it's too subtle. It's the rifle.
I thought it was the rifle too, and maybe we just need a clarifying line.
Yes.
Well,
all right.
Sounds like a good administrative task for old email. As it is for today, this has gone well, and we will talk again before too long.